internet is allowing is an old form of learning. And we have to figure out how to get out of the way to allow it to do that. So in some sense, what we're really doing is we're recursively going back to a form of learning that is appropriate for how humans actually learn. Okay? And what we're really doing is institutionalizing that. You endlessly hear that new things are happening with humans because of the internet, and it's not true. We've just finally produced a device that we can, in principle, make in our own image at low cost, okay, by manipulating bits. And because it exists, because it's there, because you can't turn it off, it will fundamentally change everything. And we turn out to be much more interesting species than we were 20 years ago. With the internet now, because we can finally address a scalability issue, which is what universities were originally designed to deal with. It's a scalability problem. The internet can handle that problem very well. Okay, so we can now institutionalize, accept, and formalize in principle the form of learning that humans are best at, which is constructivist, context-oriented, self-learning. And that's fundamentally destructive. It'll destroy universities. It's already destroying newspapers, and anyone else that can adapt to the wire that comes back. Because human beings are tribal, they operate best in small groups where there's a strong sense of shared values and a system that enforces those values through some sort of a cooperative measure. So I run a world with 4.1 million registered users of kids. And we have, by others' measures, the most sophisticated community management system on the internet. Effectively, what we've done is build, using technology, a virtual space in which every child feels like they're in a small town, in small town dynamics, but in fact there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of kids. So how do you actually measure and assign value to sort of the appropriate use of the internet? If it's not eyeballs, if it's eyeballs connected to brains, which is what it is, okay, how do you actually measure that in a way that people can then monetize it and are willing to pay for it? And at the moment, for the development of the internet and virtual worlds, figuring out what to measure and what the value of it is in this fundamentally changing relationship between providers and users, if you want, is key. And the cool thing about that, I think, is that ultimately the metrics are learning metrics. So how do you measure what someone has learned around your product or around your interest in teaching them physics or the environment? It's the same measures that people in the education world have worked on with varying success to measure learning are now appropriate for marketing, they're appropriate for business, they're appropriate for government, and they are measurable using the technology of the internet. One of the things the internet has done is nichified everybody. The idea being, it's another case where we think the internet induced a new form of human existence. Okay? It's just silly. I mean, evolution is based on variation. We are all predisposed by design to be variant, not all to be the same. The only reason we appeared to be all the same was because the three channels that were pumping us stuff basically decided what on average we wanted to see. As soon as there are a million channels, you get to decide. Humans naturally diversify their opinion if given the technology to do it, right? For obvious reasons. There can be only one Hannah Montana. There can be only one president of the Hannah Montana fan club. And if you're vying to be president of the Hannah Montana, you're up against like millions. But if you're the number one, fan of, Joe Chevy and his Cavaliers, who lives somewhere in Indiana, you have no competition, but you can sequester 300 people around you. And how many people around you does it really take for you to feel like a valued individual, someone unique? It doesn't take millions. It actually takes about 17.